The use of ampersand creates a lot of confusions in beginner developers of C and C++. So let's talk about the differences in the next two slides. Let's talk about pass by reference. Take, for example, the declaration of this X variable on the stack. Now, if we're to pass this variable into a function as is, you may be thinking that this X is being passed by value. However, when you look at the function declaration, you can see that we have integer ampersand k. This could also be written as integer ampersand space k, where this integer ampersand is referred to as reference type, specifically an integer reference, whereas k would be referred to as reference variable. In other words, this k is an alias of X. We talked about the reference properties in another video. So this is how you pass by reference. Notice that whether this function takes X either as a value or as a reference, you will not know until you look at the function declaration and see that indeed K is an alias of X, which means that if K changes inside this function, it's akin to changing X outside of this function. So this is how we pass by reference. Let's look at this address of operator or ampersand in a pass by pointer example in the next slide. Similar to the last example, let's declare this X on a stack. Now, because this X sits inside the stack, it has a memory address associated with it. So you can say address of X. Remember, when ampersand is applied in front of a variable, it's read address of. So what is the address of X? It is a pointer. So when you pass the address of X into a function, you'll see that we're passing it by pointer. Therefore, K is a pointer parameter, specifically integer pointer. The size of this K is 8 bytes because pointer is 8 bytes. Note, this ampersand is not a reference variable. This ampersand is the address of X. Therefore, this is how we pass by pointer. Alternatively, you can also create another pointer variable, ampersand P, and say that this P is an address of X. You can simply pass this P to the function. And this would have been fine because P is a pointer. This is how we pass by pointer alternatively. And notice that you're simply removing the ampersand X out of this function argument into a separate line of code and passing this pointer P into this function. This completes the illustrations of pass by pointer references involving the use of ampersand, unary operator, or ampersand reference, key distinctions in C and C++.